So today I'm going to be watching this video. It's called Poland Blocks China-Belarus Rail Traffic. So yeah, of course I've been watching videos recently about the issue with the Polish border with Belarus seemingly trying to put immigrants purposely into Poland to try and cause issues. Something I never really knew too much about, but I'm learning more and more about. I don't know if this is in response to that, but yeah, interested to see again, like having to see the things like this, these bollards and barbed wire and stuff like that. It's such a shame that the situation is like this, but yeah, let's check this out and you can tell me what you think about it.
How Poland's firm stance against China has halted vital rail traffic from Belarus, escalating tensions amid broader geopolitical strains. As Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi frets over freight train traffic jams, with EU-bound electronics and perishable fish shipments stalled on Belarusian side, Warsaw still says no. A bid by the People's Republic of China's top diplomat to end a Warsaw-ordered halt to all rail traffic from Belarus has failed, leaving hundreds of freight cars loaded with Chinese electronics and frozen fish stuck on the eastern side of the border, with more trains arriving every day. We'll break down the failed diplomatic talks, the massive economic disruptions, the historical context driving Poland's decision, and the contrasting global responses, highlighting how this lockdown underscores Poland's prioritization of security over trade.
Yeah, that's good. So I thought it would have been more to do with the Belarus side of things, but it's actually more towards China. I guess it's also, people say that China is on the side of Russia and Belarus and that sort of thing as well. So this is quite a strong stance. It's good to see. And it's again like an attitude that every European country should have, is like putting security over trade. But it seems that a lot of countries in Europe are just more, they only care about the money, unfortunately.
Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi met with Polish President Karol Nawrocki for 3 hours on Monday in talks dominated by a September 11 Warsaw order to shut down all traffic at all border crossings with Belarus and bilateral trade between the two countries. But the lockdown stayed in effect. Wang was in Warsaw on a pre-planned stop during a diplomatic tour of Austria, Slovenia, and Poland. It was the first visit by a Chinese foreign minister to Poland in 6 years. Despite the high-level engagement, Poland held firm, refusing to lift the restrictions. Xinhua, the official People's Republic news agency, ignored Poland's lockdown of the Belarusian border. In a Wednesday report on the Wang-Nawrocki talks, the agency stated Wang Yi conveyed President Xi Jinping's cordial greetings and stated, "The China-Poland Comprehensive Strategic Partnership has maintained stable development." The two sides also exchanged views on issues of common concern, including the Ukrainian crisis. This omission highlights the diplomatic tightrope, as Poland's security concerns overshadowed any push for economic normalization, leaving the border sealed and trade talks unresolved. The consequences of the ban are piling up faster than the trains themselves. An analysis published by the Semi-Independent Society of Belarusian Railway Workers said that prior to the ban, 80 to 90 trains crossed the Belarus-Poland border daily, of which 20 to 30 trains had been loaded in China and carry freight west for customers primarily in Germany, Belgium, and the Netherlands. With a typical container train 700 to 900 meters long and around 24 westbound trains from China now stacking up at the border every day since the Polish ban went into effect, the Belarusian National Railroad will run out of usable sidetrack in a week or less. As noted by the Belarus Railway Workers Society in an article on its website, this will already create a serious obstacle to the movement of local trains. In 7 to 10 days, there will be a shortage of free tracks on the Belarusian railway. Stations will be blocked, and shunting work will be greatly complicated or even impossible.
Oh, this is interesting. Yeah, so this is also like, because of what I've been learning about what Belarus has been doing to Poland, this is actually like quite a clever way to like get back at them. It's not just interrupting this line, it's interrupting all a bit further of the rail infrastructure, which is quite good to hear.
The Polish freight industry observer Logistika reported on Monday that 90% of rail freight between China and the EU passes through Poland. With
even that figure, like that's, I never actually realised. I mean, it makes sense, that's the quickest direct route, but that makes Poland have a lot of power in this geopolitical situation.
Some 745,920-foot standard containers or equivalents crossing into the EU state via Belarus in 2024. That flood of goods, worth $29.4 billion, 84.9% more than in 2023, is now stopped. About 60% of the freight is high-value goods like electronics, machinery, and high-tech energy products like lithium batteries and electric vehicles. Perishable goods like fish products and pharmaceuticals able to reach a European market in normal circumstances in 2 weeks make up about 30% of the freight flow, data published by the Beijing-supported freight company Chinese Europe Express showed. Trains are at a standstill, road carriers are stuck, terminals, operators, and border freight forwarders are already considering furloughing employees because everything hinges on whether the border reopens after 4 days of maneuvers. Bartosz Miskiewicz, CEO of the Polish logistics group Simlog, said, "This standstill not only threatens supply chains but could force shifts to alternative routes via Lithuania and Latvia or slower sea shipments, amplifying costs across the board." At the heart of this disruption lies China's substantial stake in Belarusian infrastructure, now caught in the crossfire. China, through its National Export Bank as part of the Silk Road Initiative, has invested massively in a road, air, and rail logistics hub to the east of the Belarusian capital Minsk as the main base of its freight traffic heading to Europe via Russia and Belarus. The site, with an initial investment cost of $500 million, employs about 3,600 workers in 150-plus companies. Chinese companies also have upgraded Belarusian railway infrastructure by electrifying the Minsk-Gomel line and improving high-speed traffic capacity on the Brest-Minsk line. These enhancements were designed to streamline the flow of goods, but the Polish ban has turned this hub into a bottleneck, stranding shipments and straining the very networks China built to fuel its European trade ambitions.
It seems like, like China is just, this is obviously China getting a lot of power or getting a lot of sway in Belarus as well. All these investments into Belarus, and with Belarus being on the side of Russia, like then, yeah, you can't really trust them either, like to do good. So, yeah, I guess if they're going to try and find other routes around Poland, it's not going to be ideal for them. It just makes the trips longer, more costly and stuff. So, yeah, this is actually a good power move from
Poland's
Poland.
unyielding position stems from deep-seated security threats tied to Belarus's alignment with Russia. In February 2022, Belarus helped the Kremlin launch the full-scale war with Ukraine by permitting Russian troops to invade Ukraine from Belarusian territory and use air bases in Belarus for air and missile strikes against military and civilian targets in Ukraine. Poland has been among the forefront of states condemning the Russian attack and Belarus's complicity. Polish officials last week accused Belarus of collaborating with Russia in launching drone strikes passing through Belarusian airspace to hit NATO territory and of currently conducting unsafe military exercises with Russia and Chinese troops in proximity to Poland's border. Overnight on September 8 to 9, a reported 19 Russian strike drones flew into Polish airspace, at least 2 coming from Belarus airspace. Poland stopped trade-related coordination work with Belarus in 2022. And since then, contact between Polish and Belarusian border officials has been extremely limited and at times hostile. Vladimir Orlovsky, chair of the Belarusian State Customs Committee, in an interview published on Tuesday by the Belarusian state news agency Belta, said that its government is ready to resume dialogue with Polish colleagues at any time and in any format. Unfortunately, the kind of communication and dialogue that we had in the past with Polish customs no longer exists. Polish Minister of Interior and Administration Marcin Kierwiński on Thursday said the ban on passenger and rail traffic moving into Poland from Belarus would remain in effect until we are certain that the safety of Poles is guaranteed. This lockdown reflects Warsaw's clear calculus: security first, even at economic cost. Warsaw's hardline position on China and Chinese trade and its links to the Russo-Ukrainian war contrasts sharply with that of the White House, which has threatened China with punishing tariffs twice for helping Russia attack Ukraine, only to back off from the threat in May and September 2025. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Paweł Wronski said that Warsaw hopes that Beijing will counteract Russia's destructive actions in its war with Ukraine. The major Polish television channel RTR reported on Monday. "We drew our Chinese partners' attention to destructive Russian actions," Wronski said. "We are making a decision, closing the Belarusian border, that is also costly for Poland, but our country has to make that decision due to repeated provocations by Belarus. First, you take care of security and only later count the cost."
I swear, man, every video I watch about Poland, it just makes me think like Poland is the country that every other country should be aspiring to be like. Like, you say something strong and you back it up. Like no other country, like you said about US, like threatening all these tariffs against China, then just like meekly just not doing it. Like this is a strong move, like so brave, and like yeah, other countries should be following this. Like it kind of pisses me off with like Britain and other like Western European countries, how they just bend over to China. Like China's clearly on the side of Russia, like we can see that. Why not just say that like Poland is doing? Like every other country should be following, but they just all got to like tiptoe around China because they've got such a strong trade connection and rely on that trade with China. But Poland is like, yeah, we don't mind if it's going to be costly to us, but we're more concerned about the security of our country and for our people, and that's the best. Like that's how it should be. Like so good. Polish people should be very happy with it.
In June 2024, then President Andrzej Duda visited China and signed an agreement that, according to press announcements at the time, would open up China's consumer markets to Polish beef and poultry. Since then, Warsaw has accused Beijing of not allowing the shipments to go forward. Poland's decisive action stands out, prioritizing border security and Ukraine's defense over trade concessions, even as it navigates its own export frustrations with China. In summary, Poland's refusal to lift the Belarus border lockdown despite China's diplomatic overtures has stranded billions in goods, strained Silk Road investments, and amplified hybrid threats from Belarus and Russia. From Wang Yi's fruitless talks to the looming rail chaos and Poland's unapologetic security focus, this standoff illustrates how trade routes have become battlegrounds in the shadow of Russia's war against Ukraine, and Poland has opted for a security-first policy. What do you think? Will economic pressure force a reopening, or will Poland hold the line? The ripple effects on global supply chains are just beginning to unfold.
Yeah, again, I think this video was only released a couple of days ago, so it'll be interesting to see if that's been reopened. But even if it reopens or not at this point, it's good that Poland has that power, that can be done at any time as a sort of warning. Like, it's not taking military action against China or Belarus or that. It's just closing the border, Poland is, or closing the train line, which Poland is within its right to do on its land. So it's a really important strategy for Poland, actually. So really cool. Tell me what you think about this. Thanks.